Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. Today, I have the pleasure of inviting one of my good friends, Ashley Withey. She is the co-owner of Friendlily Press. She's a designer, she's a mom, and overall, she's just a badass. I really wanted to have her on because I love her story, but I also love the progression of where her business is going. And I just think it's something really interesting to be able to see someone as they're going through an explosion of business. So I think it's definitely a pleasure and an honor to have you on today.
Hi, Biggie. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So let's go. I have some first question just because I've always wanted to ask you this. How did you guys come up with the name Friendlily Press?
A lot of trial and error, I guess. That's a really good question. I don't know why I didn't think about that one. So we obviously brainstormed a ton of different names. We wanted to make sure that our name was representative to our meeting. And, there's a lot of random words we could have picked or things that were Orlando related. But at the end of the day, everything we do is based around like our morals and our goals and our business model. And that is to do things in a friendly way. I always want people to meet me and kind of automatically have a connection with me. I want you to feel like you've known me forever based on our first conversation. But so we did a lot of research and we kind of stumbled across the word friendly, which most people think we made that word up, but it actually is an adverb. It means to do things in a friendly way. And I think we try to succeed to do that every day in our business.
That's awesome. I love hearing the background of things like that. So I definitely appreciate you giving me that. One of the interesting things, and obviously reading your bio and anyone who reads it will hear obviously quite a bit about it. But I'm intrigued because I want to know about your story about how you originally started with Ashley Beth Design and how that evolved from Ashley Beth Design to Friendlily Press. And I know part of the story when you read it, people read it, they'll know that a lot of it was kind of, I want to say almost kind of like a personal artistic response to what happened with the Pulse tragedy. And when you did the Love Orlando Orange, can you kind of tell people a little bit about that story, about how it kind of evolved from where you were like kind of your brand to then all of a sudden becomes Friendlily Press with you and Red?
Yeah, so Red's background is he's the art director of Biggie, which is an advertisement agency here in Orlando. Back then, we both had separate businesses that were just kind of like our own side bit where we got to do things that were fun. They weren't work related. We both worked jobs where it was constantly people telling us what they wanted us to make. So it was our way of kind of getting that stuff out of our system that we wanted to make. And I was working freelance. Obviously, like I said, we're both graphic designers as our background. And when the Pulse nightclub shooting tragedy happened, it wasn't ever something that we posted on our business pages. The funny story is we came up with the concept in a very short amount of time, which is not normal, but I'm going to call it, a creative spark or inspiration. We collaborated on it together. We both knew exactly what we wanted to do, and we made it just for our Facebook profile. We changed our personal Facebook pages to that, and then we had friends who owned businesses locally that wanted to buy it as stickers, and we had people that were our personal friends that wanted to buy it as stickers or T-shirts, this, that, whatever. And we said no. We kept having people come to us, and we just kept saying no. It wasn't until, I want to say it was Market on South, they actually were willing to pay out the design in terms of like having products made. And we said yes, only if they were going to donate the money to charity. That was our big thing. We didn't want to financially benefit off of a tragedy. So we started getting local printers to print it. We had ordered things ourselves out of our own personal money, and we just fundraised. We worked with some other businesses to make other products, and that's kind of where it started. And then once everything was over briefly, like we donated tens of thousands to charity, to local charities, between us and the other companies that we were working with that were selling on our behalf, things like that. And then we took it away. We took it away for a long time. We took it away almost 3 years because we just didn't want anyone to ever have the wrong interpretation of what we were doing with it. And it felt wrong using it in the first place. But I'm telling you, we got messages, emails, everything on a daily basis about when is it coming back? When can I buy it? I saw this, or I bought this and I want a new one, or I want to gift it to somebody. And we kept saying over and over and over again, like, we're not making it right now. It's not going to happen. We might bring it back. Like, we weren't really sure. We didn't know what was the right response. Like I said, we didn't want people to have the wrong impressions of what we were doing. So we waited a long time. And when we rebranded into Friendlily Press in 2019, we felt like enough time had gone by, I guess. It had gotten to this point where we didn't feel it represented a tragedy as much as it represented the unity in the community. So that was really the only reason we brought it back. And even to this day, we are super limited on what we use it for. It has a larger portion of proceeds that go to charity even to this day. And, we've had other cities actually ask if we can make their versions of it. And I keep saying no. I don't know. It feels wrong. It feels dirty to me to do that. Like, I can't do that. So we have done an orange design for other cities without the rainbow, but like we've completely redesigned it for them. And like, it's an Orlando thing. It represents Orlando. So
that's awesome. You brought up a topic that I found to be very interesting as well. You had mentioned that a lot of the proceeds went to donation to different organizations. And one of the things that I absolutely love is the idea that you donate portions of your sales to different Orlando-based nonprofits. And you actually have your customers tell you, hey, who do you recommend? Like, who do we not know that maybe we should? Where did you guys come up with that idea to do? I mean, and something, is like, and I'm just kind of curious as a small business, is this something that you do? This is like nitty gritty. Like, are you guys like writing every month? Like, okay, we did it for this organization. Now we're writing a check for this one at the end of the month. Or is it one of those that you guys do every quarter? You guys like are writing checks. How does all that work?
So it is monthly. What we do is at the beginning of every month, we go onto social media and we put out a question, and for our followers, we let them decide. We always try to keep the money here in Orlando. We try to keep it with small nonprofits. We don't want, commercialized corporate nonprofits to benefit because they already have more than enough money. And there's plenty of organizations right here in our hometown that are small businesses just like you and I that are just trying to make a difference. So we do reach out to our followers. We ask them, we do a poll. Generally, we just try to see like what's the overwhelming response that people are asking for. And then at the end of the month, we just donate a portion of our sales proceeds to that charity. And we try to keep people involved. We set up extra links onto our social media Instagram stories so that they can donate separately. Or if they want to buy products, they know that their purchases are going to a good cause. So
that's awesome. I really love that idea. So one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on, obviously, because I love your story, but the other one is because, I mean, I love seeing your Instagram stories, and I love, based on our conversations, hearing the explosion that you guys have kind of gone into. Like, and some of the areas, like, I know that you basically, the success is everything in the last like 3 years, like, how did you go from doing markets and pop-ups and kind of like online to initially actually having your products into stores and doing wholesale? And then now you're at a point where you're not just being Orlando based, but you're actually going national. So like, can you kind of give me an idea of like evolution or kind of thought process of where you guys went from? I guess let's start first with, how did you guys go from markets pop up online to, hey, I'm going to start selling my stuff at smaller businesses or wholesale to other places?
By accident. We did the pop-up thing. We thought we were just a little maker shop. Like I said, we were doing a lot of things just because it satisfied our soul. And then we just started having vendors come to us. We had a lot of stores that just really wanted to carry merchandise. Obviously, the Love Orlando Orange was a very big one. That was a popular request. And we just started selling locally, and more orders came. And then we just realized we were kind of outgrowing the Orlando market, not in a bad way. It's just we kind of capped out. We were so busy doing Orlando stuff, but there's only so many stores in Orlando. And then we started getting requests from other places, and it kind of just all happened how it happened. Probably not the most exciting answer, but everything in life happens for a reason, and it's kind of happened on its own path, on its own pace. And it's always been referral based for us. Like, everything that's ever happened has been based on somebody else telling somebody else about us.
That's awesome. And so then that's kind of how it evolved then from you guys going for, as you start referring, you're obviously then more opportunities come. And a lot of times, how are you handling the growth? Because, maybe at the same time, you're kind of maybe a little bit smaller, trying to do things more in-house. Now you're starting, I'm assuming Friendlily now is like taking over your house or taking over somewhere. How does that, how are you guys, and not to mention the other aspect of it is, and of course I'm thinking of it as a small business owner because it's just me. How do you go from that to all of a sudden now having other people help you? Because it's not just you now, you have a staff.
Yeah, we do. It was like the beginning of this year, it was like a light switch for us. We had one of our local retailers who is like a gem and is Stacy from Tiny Shop, who's amazing. She actually was talking to one of her brand reps who comes into her store to sell about our brand. And I got a phone call that evening from our brand rep, Sabrina, and it literally took off from there. We had orders being placed all around the state literally overnight once we had her signed on with us. And it's been nuts. I would say the hard part about selling wholesale is if you're a small business, you really have to go into starting your small business with the mindset that you will be a wholesaler. Wholesale is a whole nother beast compared to selling direct to consumer. If you're going to be selling wholesale, you have to think about, like you said, it's quantities and size and price. You're not selling something to a small business at the same price that you're selling something direct to consumer because they can't sell it for twice what you would sell it to direct to consumer. So there's definitely a lot of logistics that go into it. I've been very blessed. I will say that I have a very good support system in my family, and we have a lot of financial backing from our family. And honestly, that's the only way we've been able to do it. It takes a lot of money to be a wholesaler. It's not impossible. People can do it if they put their mind to it. But if you're going to be a small business that wants to focus on wholesale, you have to start from the beginning, start from the ground up. It's just the better way to go. I wish I would have, it's one of those things I wish I would have known back then was if I was going to do wholesale, I should have just started from there. And it's been crazy. Like I said, we have been getting orders all around the country. We actually have some big box stores that we're trying to get into. We have some meetings lined up with some big box stores. We actually are working on an order right now for a chain of grocery stores out of Seattle. We have some contacts in other countries that we're talking to and trying to figure out the logistics for that. And it's been crazy. We are taking over my house. My house is 2,500 square feet. And if you're in Orlando, that's a very large house for Orlando. And half of it is the business, and not by choice. It's just kind of creeped its way into every nook and cranny in my house. And we have a team of 8 people now, which is crazy. Not all of them obviously work on site. There's a lot of them that work remote, but we do have a production team that is running orders, packaging orders, fulfilling wholesale orders, things like that. And so it's been a learning curve. Every day has literally been something completely new, something that I had to learn from scratch, or I'll get somebody to ask me a question about something and I don't even know what they're talking about. And I'm in the middle of a conversation Googling, what does this mean? One of my reps asked me the other day how many doors the store had. And I'm like, doors? I don't know. How am I supposed to know how many doors a grocery store has? And she had to very nicely explain to me it means locations. Oh, wow. Something I've never thought about. But there's, like I said, that's why starting out wholesale, if you're going to do it, is the way to go. But we are growing. We're in the process of trying to find a warehouse and upgrading our machinery to try and keep up with supply and demand. Sorry. And other than that, just preparing for market in July, which is going to be the next big boom. We do have a market in Seattle next week that we're not going to be at. Our representative for the Northwest is going to represent us out there. But like I said, every day it's a new learning challenge, but it's fun.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that. And I guess the big thing is how do you handle? You definitely have to be adaptability. There's got to be some adaptability there because obviously as you're growing and just basically saying, F it, I'm just going to I'm going all in and I'm just going to do this. Because there's a lot of people that usually sometimes will go with the, I don't know if I can do this, or I can't handle this. Or you basically then you almost self-limit yourself. So how how do you get over the hurdle? Because I mean, that is not something that all businesses can do. I'll admit I am one of them. I basically tend to hurdle myself very often when it comes to this. So like, how do you do it? I mean, how do you go? Because the other thing is this, and just to kind of go a little bit into the Friendlily Press product line, it's not like you're just doing, like postcards and prints and you're doing stationery, you're doing acrylics, you're doing cutting boards, you're doing laser engraving. I mean, there's keychains, there's pins, there's enamels, there's shirts. I mean, this is a full on brand and line. So it's like, how do you go about like, getting to that? How do you get yourself uncomfortable, or how do you deal with getting yourself uncomfortable? Because literally these are all stretch things to get you uncomfortable. How are you, what's your mindset? What do you, how do you go by it?
Well, I mean, I do go through my mental breakdowns. Don't get me wrong. I have my moments, and I just have to kind of regroup a little bit when I'm not always the best at handling stress. I will admit that, but we always manage to make it through. My friend Miranda is kind of like one of those people that I think about when something like that comes up, because she had told me about this one book, and one of the quotes in the book was talking about like how ideas are like muses, and when you have like when an idea comes to you, you have to like grab it and do it, and if you don't, like a muse, it will leave you and find someone else. And that's like really stuck with me since she told me about that, and I use that concept every day in my life. So I just do it, it's a hard thing to think about, but that was kind of something I went into 2021 thinking about anyways, was that, don't tell me, my mom always says this too, don't tell me that something can't be done, figure out a way to do it. So yes, I work very, very late nights. I went to bed last night at 3:00 in the morning because I was working on a line sheet for the Northwest region and fulfilling wholesale orders up until that time. But you just got to do it. That's the hard thing, is just telling yourself, like, don't tell yourself that you can't do it, just do it.
No, that's absolutely true. And that's something that I've actually tried to change on my mindset, because I've kind of, in my mind, I've always been, I truly admire folks that do their business full time. Because I'm kind of one of those where I have a full-time job, but then I also do this on the side, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I sometimes feel, obviously, like when you go all in, and it's kind of like I'm going all in, I'm basically, there's definitely a different, like I have a harness, and I know that. And sometimes it's one of those where like, when are you ready to cut that harness or ready to take that step? And many times you have to also be realistic though on the harness. I think in my particular case, being the brand that I have and very niche, and what I've currently have, I feel like I have to have the harness, because my sales are not predicating me to say, hey, listen, I'm ready to take the next step. That's not saying that when that time comes, I'm not going to, but as of right now, it's very beneficial to do that. In your particular case, I love the fact that you guys are just kind of, the explosion is happening so fast. And if anything, you actually are trying to catch your breath and at the same time grow. And speaking of breath, I guess obviously, you got to have time to eat. I am kind of curious, because I do always have to ask the sandwich question. What is your favorite sandwich? And then where do you usually go to get a sandwich?
Okay, Biggie. So I knew you were going to ask me this. Knowing you, I knew you were going to ask me this, and I thought very deeply about this, and you're going to hate my answer, but I'm celiac. So I can't eat bread. Okay. Doesn't mean I've never had it. I always have people ask me that, like, so you don't know what bread tastes like? I know what bread tastes like. I know what food tastes like in cookies. Like, I wasn't always celiac. If you are celiac, it is a lot of times it's an onset allergy or autoimmune response. So it was something that didn't happen to me until later in life. But man, I'm telling you, I miss pub subs. And I know that's probably like the stupidest thing to say, but when Callaway was born, I made a joke that no one was allowed to come and see him at the hospital unless they brought me a roast beef pub sub and a Dr. Pepper. Like, that was the requirement, because I just went 9 months without eating that. And so, Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of really great restaurants that I miss eating at, not just sandwich wise, but really everything,
So now I guess what would be now your go-to, do you have a go-to lunch? Because obviously, listen, I know everyone knows me as a sandwich person, but I love all foods. I'm not I definitely do not discriminate. So what's your go-to then favorite lunch item?
I like rice bowls a lot. Like Bolé has that like kale bowl, and like their kale is so good. I get a lot of poke. I mean, sushi in general. At this point, because we have been so busy, and whatever Uber Eats will deliver to my house.
Yeah, Uber Eats definitely been our friend for sure during this whole pandemic and everything like that. How are you guys? Well, I did have another question on the sense of, since when I brought up the topic of all the different things that you guys create and build, because you guys are creating a lot of these things. Did you and Rhett have experience with acrylics and wood engraving and like, laser engraving and stuff like that? Like, where did you guys get that experience from?
No, we didn't have like a background in that. So like I said, Rhett and I both have a background in graphic design. We had an art background, which I think you need in that instance, or at least like a pretty good knowledge of how to work like design software, because that's how we have to build everything out, is in design software. And then we just kind of learned, but that's kind of been the way with everything, is we've learned, don't get me wrong, we took a long time to learn before we brought anything to market. I think you should. You don't put yourself out there if you literally have no idea how to do something, because then you're underselling your customer base, and I don't want my first customer to have a different quality of something from my 10,000th customer, other than like maybe packaging upgrades. So, hone in, if you find something you really love and want to do it, hone in on that skill and then make it something. But yeah, no, we learned, and it was more of something we had been wanting to do for a really long time, and we just took the plunge and did it. And we still do it, honestly. There's, we've been adding a lot of new machinery just because like we have ideas that we want to make reality, and it does require learning a lot of new things. So same thing. So to this day, we're still constantly learning. You never stop learning. If you think you know everything, then you know nothing.
I totally agree. You got so many great quotable things, by the way, as we're talking. What advice would you give someone who wants to start something and is either afraid to start or just is making excuses for not starting it?
Good advice for somebody that wants to start a business. Well, I mean, look at your market. You have to know, is there a want or a need for what you're doing? Which, if it's different and fun, there's always somebody that's going to buy stuff. And even if you are doing something that other people are doing, the market's big enough for everybody. But at the same time, too, I think it's really important, like, don't do something to start a business just to start a business. It's okay to have hobbies. And I know that probably sounds really terrible, but like, I don't know. Like, my mom tells me, my mom's going to listen to this and be so mad that I'm saying this. She tells me all the time, like, you should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, Mom, I love doing these things, but I do it because I love it for me. Like, there's plenty of things, like, I know how to sew, and I know how to, do a lot of things that aren't things in our shop, but it's because I do it to feed my soul, not to feed my wallet. That's okay. I feel like, I don't know if it's a generational thing, and like maybe it's our generation being pressured by our parents, but it's okay to do things just for you. I think that there's a lot of people that get talked into starting a business because they enjoy doing something, and then that kind of takes the joy out of the item sometimes. So that's definitely something to think about. But if you're really passionate about what you do and you really want to make it a business, just, write it out, set intentions and goals for yourself and do it. Nobody's telling you to not do something that you want to do, but, put thought into it and put care into it. And that's the most important thing. And then people will love what you do.
Very true. Very true. And one of the things that you have, I know because my wife's obsessed with Friendlily Press. So if you have not checked it out, definitely, if you haven't done it, you can definitely do it while you're listening to this. You can definitely start surfing and check Friendlily Press. But my wife and my daughter, they have like everything. We have enough Friendlily Press in here, which I'm perfectly fine with. I absolutely love it. Whenever she tells me she's going to go shopping, I'm like, yep, go right ahead. Say hi to Ashley for me. Obviously, one of the big things that I try to push, and it's something that you mentioned to me during a conversation, was that a lot of people don't do hobbies; they try to do businesses. And you're absolutely right. I mean, in the sense that I've made it where I'm trying to make, and maybe it's because I'm trying to show my entrepreneurial side and trying to instill it to my daughter. But like, I'm trying to get my daughter to do, not monetize it or anything like that, but I'm trying to make her so, because she's an avid reader, and she's an avid baker. Like, those are her two favorite things. So I always joke around about how she should open her own like shop and whatnot. And she's actually talked about how she wants to like sell pies. But my big thing for me was originally trying to push on the aspect of, hey, you should really do a book review, or you should do even an Instagram where you at least talk about, or a blog post about reading and like about the books you write and like you've read and stuff like that. And I love her response. And I obviously, as a parent, I value her response and what her thoughts are. She's like, Daddy, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to spoil it for someone, but I also don't want to, I basically just let me be type of thing. Like, she's like, let me be, let me just enjoy my books. And if the time comes, obviously, but I guess for me, my big thing is my parents, never really kind of instilled the idea of entrepreneurship, with me. So like, obviously I think it's going to be very amazing to see what Callaway, your 3-year-old, will see, because for him, this is normal. This is normal life, seeing your parents going for something that they believe in, that they care about, and actually evolving and going into. And I think it's so important, because for me, it's like, I'm trying to instill that in my daughter, because I didn't get it. And, and I want her to be able to see it. So I think it's very amazing to show Callaway those things, or to show any of your children as you're doing these type of things. Obviously, one thing that is always difficult and no one wants their child to experience, but it's real life, is failure. So I'm kind of curious, like, how do you guys go about with the thought process of failure? Have you had experiences where you've either had a failure where you've learned from it and been able to, grow from it, obviously, because everything is an experience, or have you had, what's your, what have you guys gone through to, based on that failure, to be able to kind of grow from it, or at least learn from it?
Back to what you had just said really fast, but my personal background, for what it's worth, my mom is an entrepreneur. My mom was a writer and editor for Kiplinger Business and Financial magazine when I was a child. She worked for the news station, and she started a nonprofit organization for children down in South Florida. So my entire childhood was watching her be like this badass boss lady, and she's definitely my role model. But what's funny is that me, I'm one of 4. I'm the only one that runs my own business. My brother, my oldest brother, is actually a pilot for a private corporation, and my sister is a real estate broker. So I'm the only one that like gained that entrepreneurial spirit, I suppose. And I definitely think she pushes me, and I'm sure when you see Bella doing things, that's why you push her too, because you see those traits in her, which is a good thing. It's a good thing to like encourage your kids. But like you said too, I think with Callaway, yes, there's a good chance he'll grow up and want to do things. I always tease that Rhett and I are very creative, and he will be completely the opposite. Like, he's going to grow up and be an engineer because he has literally no interest in creativity stuff. But no, I just want him to grow up and be happy. I want him to do whatever he wants to do. And I know my mom would say the same about me. But, there's, like I said, there's definitely things you have to do just because it feeds your soul. Doesn't mean that you can't do it for a living. Just means that, like, do whatever makes you happy. Like, that's like, what's the point of living if we don't do things that make us happy? Yeah. And then you were asking about failure. Yeah. Failure happens for us all the time. It doesn't matter if you're a Etsy shop or selling at markets or selling statewide or national or worldwide. Failure is going to happen for everybody. It's just how you handle failure is what separates us. So for us, I worry about every single product launch. Like, I have major anxiety every time something new comes, because that little devil in the back of my mind is like, everybody's going to hate this. this. Like, nobody's going to like this. Nobody likes you. And I'm like, stop. It's going to do good. It's going to do good. It's going to do good. And sometimes it doesn't. And you just got to take what you learn from that experience and then go on to the next product. That's really just all it breaks down to. It's, there's definitely like financial risks, and you have to assess that when you're introducing either a new product or a new line. But that's the beauty of it, is like you can grow. If something does really well, then you can do more things like that. If it doesn't do well, then maybe you don't do that type of thing. So it's a constant adjustment. Obviously, as you know, Biggie, we're doing a lot of like the white labeling drink stir sets right now for all these different retailers nationwide. And if you had asked me that was going to be like our bread and butter like a year ago, I would have laughed at you. Like, I would have just straight up laughed at your face, because that doesn't make any sense to me. I didn't know that was going to be a thing, but people like what they like. And when you find that, you just go for it. So it's helped us propel into that next level, and it's allowing us to do a lot more things that we wanted to do in a way we want to do it. But, that's kind of, you just learn what people want and you adjust.
White labeling. Is it a balance of trying to figure out between your own, obviously when you're doing white labeling, you're creating something for someone else, with their labeling, is kind of the basic gist of it. But it's obviously your product being created, in their name. And do you ever sometimes have a balance, or how difficulty of like, hey, like, are we becoming more, kind of like the balance of your own creative aspects of you trying to create your own stuff for Friendlily, but at the same time doing the white labeling side of it? Is there ever a struggle there?
I think Rhett struggles with that more mentally, because that's kind of how he views things. But in my mind, it's still our art. Most of the time they're choosing designs from a library of designs we've already made. And even with the white labeling, our name is still on the packaging. It just says like so-and-so made for so-and-so by Friendlily Press. So our name's still on things. And obviously that's only one product. When a retailer comes to us, they're buying a lot of different things. They have to fill minimum order quantities, and, like the keychains, like we just had those Orange Blossom Florida keychains that came in, and I've had almost every order that had those keychains on their PO order. And those have our name on it. I'm not white labeling those. We're only white labeling certain products. So to say that it takes away our identity is not really true. Okay. If anything, it just helps us financially, because it's more sales. 2, it helps them because it means that you can have stores in the same area that are selling the same types of products that are still different, and they're still us. So it's increasing the amount of stores that we're able to sell to. So in wholesale, you have zip code rights, which essentially it's about a 3-mile radius that you can't sell your brand or the same type of brand or same types of products to stores within a 3-mile radius based on like I said, rights to that area. And obviously that changes if they become a dormant account. So after like, I think it's like 12 weeks or something, an account is considered dormant, and then you can open up to selling to other people. Because we're white labeling with our name on it, it is still our name, and it opens up more doors, referencing back to that quote earlier, opens more doors that we can sell to. So it just means more income for the business, and more income coming into the business means more things that we're able to do. It means more people we're able to hire. It means bringing more services to our area and more donations to our area. So it all around it benefits everyone. And what we're finding, especially with our wholesalers, is that they are able to create something that's different from their neighbor, that drives people in. And that's important. It probably sounds terrible, but there's a lot of controversy right now around Fair, which is a wholesaling website. And I hear this a lot from like brand reps and like showrooms, is that all these stores have a lot of the same products. And a lot of retailers too are telling us the same thing. We've had a lot of our retailers saying that they get frustrated when they buy something and then directly from the artist or directly from the manufacturer, but they're also selling through Fair, so they still end up having the same thing as their neighbor next door, or the person next door is using their house zip code, so they get past that zip code right because they don't have somebody that's actually monitoring it. So this is kind of our way of like being able to give them something that's different and fun and customizable to them and their personality or what their shop theme is or their clientele is, because it doesn't matter if you're, you know, right next door to somebody. You might have completely different clients. You might have completely different types of products or a completely different theme. And then you're, like I said, you're still opening up the potential for more.
No, I absolutely love it. And, you know, obviously I think it's great because I plan to hopefully do some stuff with Friendlily Press as well. So hint, hint, probably. So that's definitely a good thing. I like, you know, obviously my lunch break is about coming to an end. So I kind of wanted to see if you can kind of give everyone an idea of where they can follow you, where they can shop and support you and check out your products. You know, by all means, please, the floor is yours.
So obviously you can find us online at friendlilypress.com. It's FRIENDLILY, like a lily flower. And we're also on social media at the same name at Friendlily Press. But if you're local to Orlando, I would definitely suggest like go into one of the local stores that carries us. We're all over town. You can find us at Maffrey's, Paper Goat Post, Good Crowd, Yeah Tiny Shop, Infusion Tea, the History Center, Discover Downtown. I know I'm missing a ton of different names because, you know, thinking about them is difficult. There is a link on the website. If you go down to the bottom, there is a stockist link. You can see everywhere that we're carried in the Orlando area. And even if you want to chat, you have questions, you know, shoot me a DM on Instagram. Like I said, I'm all about like building connections and talking to people. And hopefully someone out there is inspired to do something they love, or, you know, whether it's a business venture or something that just, like I said, feeds their soul and what they want to do. So,
well, that's our show for today. So thank you so much, Ashley, for being on and having lunch with me. Definitely make sure to check them out online. And I definitely recommend you check it out and definitely go to one of the stores, because I think one of the great things about those stores, trust me, my wife likes going to them. I love going to them because I then get to meet and learn about other creators and other small businesses. So not only can I support one, but I can support many when I go to some of those shops, which I definitely think is amazing. If you've enjoyed the show, definitely make sure to subscribe to Lunch with Biggie. If you want to support me, by all means, check out my brand, Deli Fresh Threads. Do some shopping and definitely tell your friends. Thank you so much. Till next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion.